All right, I'm going to go ahead and go through the sort of site prep that we did today. We imported some AutoCAD drawings here that have the topos, the sidewalks, the buildings, and the roads, and we oriented our Revit file with these. So I'm going to go ahead and run through that process pretty quickly, but hopefully it'll be helpful if you need a refresher. Okay, so I'm going to minimize this guy, and I'm going to come into my Revit, and I am going to go to Insert, Link CAD, and the first thing I'm going to link is the buildings, because that's going to help us orient where everything else is going to go, and you'll see that in a minute. I am going to use positioning center to center. You can use origin to origin if you have it set up that way, but we're going to use center to center. You want to make sure current view only is not checked. We want to see it in all the views. And then I'm going to click open. And it's going to plunk that guy down, noting that I'm in the site view. This is the building we want to have centered right here. And so I'm going to pick the import and go to the move command. And I'm going to move from the middle to that reference line, and then I'm going to move from that midpoint to that reference line, and that's going to get that guy oriented the way we want it. I'm going to pick it, I'm going to pin it so it doesn't move, and then I'm going to insert Link CAD, and I'm going to do the topos, and I'm going to leave everything set as we have previously, and I'm going to click open. And it's going to give me an error message that happens often, that you can't see what you're importing, and if I close that, it'll actually back it up with a very similar warning. And I'm going to close that. I'm going to go to my 3D view here. There it is, up in the air. Now I know that this is the contour that I want to be at level 0. So if we look at south elevation, I've got some levels in here, and the A0 is the one that I want that green one to be on. So if I zoom out, I can come in, pick this file, move it from that green level, and I'm just going to move it vertically until that level highlights. And now that line is basically on that level. And then I'm going to go back to my site view, and I'm going to move this into place. So I'm going to move the topo from this corner to that corner, and the snap is not working, so I'm going to right click and go to snap overrides and select endpoints, and then left click. And now I'm going to rotate that so it's correctly oriented to the project. So I'm going to go, it's selected already, I can tell that because it's red. I'm going to go to rotate, and Revit puts the rotation in the center of the object, so I'm going to left click and hold down my left click and drag it because I want it to rotate about that point. I'm going to pick the point I want to move, and then I'm going to pick the point I want to rotate it to, and now that's rotated correctly. The next thing I'm going to do before I do anything else is I'm going to orient true north. So I'm in the site plan. I'm going to come over and I'm going to go to project to true north in my properties dialog box. Then I'm going to go to manage. And before I do that, I'm actually going to draw a model line. Sorry about that. So I'm going to go to architecture, and I'm going to go to model line. And I'm just going to draw a model line along that line, making sure that it's parallel. So if you zoom in, you really want that to be parallel. So make sure that it's parallel. So I'm going to delete that one. And I'm just going to go to, again, architecture model line. Go to the endpoint. And then I'm going to type SM, which is snap midpoint. Actually, let's do SE. Oh. Whoops. Well, let's try that one more time. Line. There's the endpoint. And if I right click, go to snap overrides, go to endpoint. There we go. Now that's correctly oriented. Pick that line, move it from the endpoint to the survey base point. Now I'm oriented to true north over here. I'm now going to go to my manage. I'm going to go to position, and I'm going to rotate true north, and it's going to rotate around that survey point. So I'm going to pick where true north is, which is straight up, and I'm going to move it to where I want it to be, which is that line. And so now this is oriented true north. I can delete that line because I don't need it anymore. And if I go back to Project North, it goes back to Project North. So basically we just kind of rotated the earth underneath us. Now the next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to create some topography when I come back.